Hi, I had a question on if you are in an apartment building and you would like to get some type of solar for an emergency backup, how can you possibly do it? Well, there are a couple of various ways depending on how high in the building you are. If you're on the ground floor, don't do this. Even second floor, be at least third floor or higher. If the building's made of wood, you can screw your solar panels, bracket them directly to the outside of the wall. Now, what if you don't have any type of balcony or your building's brick? Well, you can do it a simple way like I did here. Now, this is my 30-watt solar panel. Now, if you're going to buy a single solar panel, do not buy a 30-watt. Yes, this is absolutely fine for keeping a car battery topped off. It is fine for charging small things. But a 30-watt solar panel only produces around 1.76 amps. So up there you can see my battery charger. That battery charger on low produces 2 amps, so it produces more. And if you've ever charged a car battery, a lead acid battery, then you know that can take literally all day long to charge a down car battery, if not longer than a day. This 30-watt solar panel produces less amps than that car battery charger on low. Now I'm going to show you a couple things. I do not have a battery to hook up unless I pull my battery out of my van, and I did not want to do that. It is supposed to have thunderstorms today. So what I did to make sure the charger controller and everything was working, I'm using the battery out of my Black & Decker cordless drill. You can see it right there. And the wires come up into the solar charger controller. Now, off the load of the charger controller, I do have a 5 amp fuse. Now, you can use a 3 amp, but nothing higher. I would use nothing higher because the amount of amps that this produces is only 1.76 amps operating temperature, and the short circuit is 1.87 amps. You do not want to overload this. This is a Newpowa 30-watt 17 volt 1.76 amps. And once again, if you want to get some type of solar panels, but you have no way to where to put them outside, if you're worried about someone stealing them, you can always do it right here, what I'm doing, which is absolutely just put it inside a window. Now, if you are going to buy just one solar panel, the price for this alone was around $40 for a 30-watt. I did check the price recently on eBay. That's where I did order it from, and it is $39.99. And that was, I checked the price yesterday because I knew I was going to make a video on this today. You can buy a brand new 100-watt panel that puts out over 5 amps for anywhere between just under double this price or a little bit over double this price. So if you're going to buy a solar panel for like charging or lights or something like that, go with the larger panels, because charging with something like this will take literally all day. I would consider this as more or less a battery maintainer, but can you do stuff with it? Absolutely. Now remember, I have this going through the load function right here, load, coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my girlfriend's laptop in. Let's get that out of the way. I don't want to deal with that just yet. And you can see her laptop plug is right here. Right here. And I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to turn it on and plug it in. You will hear a beep. Now, you have to forgive me, I have to set this, well, maybe I can get this in. Oh, that's really tight. And you can see, it is charging. Now, you can see it is absolutely pulling power from this little bitty battery. Now, what the load does is if the solar panel is not producing enough power, it will draw it from the battery. And you can see it jumping up and down there. Now, I do not like using this because it is charging, but this is a modified sine wave inverter, and let me shut that off. Sensitive electronics do not like modified sine wave inverters. If you're going to use something like this, try to get a pure sine wave inverter. And you can see the solar panel is pushing power back into this. Now, this is not the best thing to do, trust me. You do not want to use a battery like this. If you're going to hook up a small solar panel, always get a larger battery, a 12-volt battery. Now, let's see. And you have to forgive me, this is just kind of rigged up here and everything's falling. Now let me get back here. Now, depending on your laptop, how much power it pulls, this may work better for you. But remember, this will only put out so many amps. And especially if you're using a battery like this, I really advise not to use a battery like this. But you can see this here is charging. Now, I did have to purchase the charger controller, the solar panel, and of course the inverter separately. The charger controller is around $9, $8-9. Now, this is only a 10 amp charger controller, and you can see it's charging the battery up. Now, that battery is already bad. It does not hold the charge. But one of the questions was, if I live in an apartment, can I get solar? How can I set it up in an emergency situation? Here's the thing. In any window, you can set a solar panel. Now, the best place to face it is south, but it will work facing north, east, or west as well. It just will not get as much sun. Now, I'm not going to run anything like a fan or anything off this, because it would just zap that little bitty battery completely. It'd just destroy that battery. And like I said, this battery is out of my drill here. So if you have a solar panel or want to get a small solar panel just for charging stuff like a laptop, power banks, things like that, cell phones, I believe this would have the power definitely to charge a smartphone or a tablet. The only smartphone I have is the one I'm using now to record on. And like I said, if it doesn't have enough power from the solar, it will pull power from the battery. With that plugged in, it probably won't produce enough amps to do much. As you can see, it's trying to pull power and get this inverter to go with everything else plugged in, with this plugged in. There we go. Like I said, this battery is not good for this. But you can tell when this kicks on, it does charge. And there we go. See, it's dropping the power too much off this battery. That means the solar is not putting on in enough amps or volts right now. Then again, it is also facing east and it's pretty cloudy outside. If you want something to charge small stuff, that's fine, dandy, great. But for the cost of this, right here, for a 30 watt, for double the price, you can literally get 100 watt with much more amps. So if I were you, that's what I'd do. I would get 100 watt. And if you plan on expanding your solar system, get a larger charger controller. This is only 10 amps. And you can see it's charging. Alright, well, I hope this answered the question. I live in an apartment. Well, it was a statement, more or less. I live in an apartment. How could I use solar? How could I do this, do that? Now remember, the more solar panels and the higher your panels, the better. The better the battery, or the more batteries, the better. Something like this setup, I only did this because this is the only 12 volt battery I have access to that's not hooked up to something else. This was real easy to set up. So, and you can see 13.1 volts. It's going right through. It's charging the power station. Well, the power thing here. So, let's pull that out. Ugh. And let's turn this back on. And you can tell it is pulling a great deal of power. And is not bringing enough in to really keep this going through the load. I mean, it can do it. I don't know if you can see how fast that's dropped when it kicks on. Now, it is absolutely charging. And like I said, laptops, computers, TVs do not like modified sine wave inverters. So if possible, do not use one. But if you have to use one, make sure you have a really good battery. You can see this thing. See that? Alright, anyway. Turn that off. Let that build up. Now, how I have this hooked up, of course, positive and negative from the battery center. That's positive. That's negative. Positive and negative from the solar. And positive and negative from the ground. Not ground, excuse me, the load. Ground. And I have a 5 amp fuse. Sorry, this is slipping. And I have a 5 amp fuse on the load going down to a cigarette plug, and then the inverter plugged into the plug. Alright, that's it. But if you want solar and you have no place to put solar panels, yes, you can put them into windows. Just make sure that your battery is as close as possible, and you do not want to leave your solar up at night. You want to take it down, especially in a bad situation. You don't want somebody stealing your stuff. Alright, that's it. I'm fixing to go. And once again, there's the setup. And everyone have a good day. Bye.